Palestine Action is a complex one. So they're a British direct action group that was prescribed as a terrorist organisation by the government in July. And to be clear, that means membership or support of the group is a criminal offence punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Now, this came after activists broke into Brize Norton, the big RAF base, in June, and caused £7 million worth of damage by spray painting 2 RAF Voyager planes. They claim responsibility. So it was a protest against the UK support of Israel's war in Gaza, and as a consequence have been designated a terror organisation. More than 2,000 people have been arrested at demonstrations across the UK. You oppose this categorisation. Why?
It's absolutely outrageous. We're seeing 89-year-olds with walking sticks and wheelchairs being arrested. The conversation we just had about where the
They were carrying, just on that point, if they were carrying Hamas flags, would you accept they should be arrested?
Well, I think that's a completely separate...
Well, no, but it's a hypothetical, but I want to understand that it's not about whether they're 89 years old, is my point. It's what they're doing.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone should be carrying a Hamas flag.
But if your 89-year-old you're talking about was carrying a Hamas flag at a protest rally, would you accept that there was a right to arrest them?
I think arresting anyone for carrying a flag is probably silly way.
In other words, the point I'm making is the age is kind of irrelevant. It's what they're doing.
Well, I think the real point here is that we need to see a free Palestine. We know that a lot of the population in this country, the majority of the population, are disgusted by what they're seeing, and they're disgusted at what they're seeing as a genocide. And rather than worrying about the flags or the words, I think the government need to worry about the bombs, the fighter jet components they're selling, which are literally raining down on the Palestinian people. And I think it's all.
But as somebody who wants to be a British Prime Minister, I presume at some stage, otherwise why go into politics? You'd like to lead the country.
Well, at the moment, I'm focused on getting more MPs and challenging the Labour government.
But you don't become a politician not to one day lead your country.
You're not going to encourage me to do a Jo Swinson on your show, Piers. So
I can't even remember what Jo Swinson did.
She said that she was going to be Prime Minister and promptly lost her seat.
Well, do you not want to be?
At the moment, I'm really, really focused on the central mission, which is we just got 90,000 members.
You're a bit of a
Green
straight
Party.
talker.
I am a completely straight talker.
Well, do you want to be Prime Minister or not?
I want to make sure that there's a Green Prime Minister in the future. Whether that's me or not, that's going to be for the British public to decide.
I'm trying to work out the headline is Zach Polanski, I do not want to be Prime Minister,
that's
or I do.
That's definitely not the headline.
Or
the headline is right now I'm focused on growing those 90,000 members. We've got nearly 2 million votes.
But ultimately you want power, otherwise you can't do anything.
Yes, I absolutely want to see a Green
Otherwise
government.
you're just talking.
Right.
So a politician obviously needs the mechanism of power, otherwise you can't do anything you're talking about.
Totally, but at the same time...
So de facto, you want to be Prime Minister, don't you?
Well,
otherwise how can you do anything?
At the moment, I'm focused
otherwise,
on...
why am I interviewing you? No, seriously. Why would I listen to a word you say?
So you only interview people who want to be Prime Minister at the next general election?
If you genuinely don't aspire for power, you can't do any of the things you're talking about.
I really want to see a Green government. I really want to see a Green Prime Minister. Whether that person is me or not, I think is a separate conversation.
Why wouldn't it be you then?
Because at the moment, we've only got 4 MPs, and even as the leader of the party, I don't expect to be in power at the next election.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't think there'll be a Green government, because I don't think there'll even be a Nigel Farage reform government.
Singular lack of ambition.
Well, no, because we have a first past the post system.
I have a postcard on my desk in my office, and it was given to me by my mother, and it's a hippopotamus flying with a flock of seagulls, and the headline, "Ambition knows no bounds."
Right.
That's fueled me my entire life. Why would you be so lacking in ambition?
I'm deeply ambitious. I want to make sure that the Green Party is in the balance of power. At the next election, we'll be calling for a wealth tax, proportional representation, and action on the climate crisis. I think that's pretty ambitious.
Do you think the British people are going to be supporting and voting for somebody who thinks it's okay to go and smash up planes at RAF bases, planes which are used by us to defend our country?
I think the British public will absolutely support someone who says that we stand against this genocide and we stand against the non-violent right.
Well, the UK government has not categorised it as genocide. And there's a reason for that, as you know, right? And the reason for that is that there has never been an established genocide by the International Court, ever.
I mean, it's incoherent to not call this a genocide.
Well,
anyone can look on the
Rwanda,
phone
for
or their
example,
TV screens. It's a
Rwanda, it was
genocide,
determined, was never actually determined to be a genocide. The bar for a genocide is incredibly high. That's why I've resisted using that word.
Okay.
I think I prefer the word ethnic cleansing for what's going on. I think the word genocide gets tossed around. It was tossed around within days of October the 7th, which I found nonsensical.
Well, let's start from first principles. If there's an ethnic cleansing going on, should we not stop it?
Yes.
Well, I think then the word...
I think words do matter.
Well, of course they matter.
Yeah.
And I think it's very clearly a genocide. And by the way, most genocide scholars...
But why would you not think that actually breaking into bases illegally, causing millions of pounds worth of damage to planes is not an act of terror?
because there's a genocide going on, or as you call it, an ethnic cleansing.
But that's whataboutery. I'm talking about what they actually did.
No, I don't think it's whataboutery at all. I think that's the British public saying if our politicians are not going to listen to us, we're going to take non-violent direct action.
Well, it wasn't non-violent. It was literally breaking up planes.
I don't think the plane's going to cry from its hurt wounds. I think this is ultimately about making...
£7 million worth of taxpayer money was taken to repair the damage to these planes.
What was that plane going to do, Piers?
My point
what was that plane going to do?
All sorts of things.
Possibly go and kill people, right? And drop bombs.
Possibly defend the country against an attack, as it did in World War II,
right.
as it might do if Vladimir Putin decides to fire some rockets our way. The idea that the RAF only do things that you don't like or agree with is insulting.
Well, I think you put words in my mouth. I think the RAF do lots to defend our country. That's what you're implying.
You said, what do they do? It's an RAF plane. What do you think they do?
Well, when we're supplying RAF planes to Gaza and to share intelligence and fly over while we're massacring people, on average, a classroom of children are dying every single day. I think it's about getting back to those first principles, that all of this is happening. It's happening in our name.
So you would ground all RAF planes now?
From being involved with the genocide, absolutely.
Where would you allow them to be involved?
Well, if they're defending our country, as you said, but as far as I know at the moment,
would you allow them to be involved in any overseas military action?
Well, I think there is a question about Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, Syria, all places we've had interventions in, and all places, in fact, Iraq, that you famously opposed, and quite rightly too, where we've actually made things worse. So I'm not a pacifist. I think there are times when we do need to get involved with war, where we do need to make sure we're defending our own country.
Well, joining me in the studio to debate the issue of protest and free speech is Israeli-American journalist Emily Schrader and the president of the Australian Palestine Advocacy Network, Nasser Mashni. Well, welcome to both of you. Well, Emily, you were listening to that. This could be the future of the UK.
Well, you know, I'm not going to comment on all of the women's issues and the internal issues because I'm not British, but I will say that I find it very disappointing to hear anyone who is advocating for a lack of respect for the rule of law. Whether someone is 89 years old or 19 years old, if they're breaking what the law is, that needs to be taken seriously, and that is the job of the police. It's not their job to legislate or make the laws, it's their job to enforce the laws, and I think that needs to be respected. And it's very problematic, the actions of the Palestine Action Group, and the fact that they don't have any respect for British law or even for the RAF.
Is it terrorism, though, to spray on a plane if you think that plane should not be used in Gaza? Is that an act of terrorism, or is it an act of vandalism by people, a peaceful act of vandalism, albeit one that causes material damage?
I don't think you could say that it's a peaceful action at all. I think it's clearly illegal and it is vandalism. It's not up to me to decide, as someone who isn't British, who isn't a legislator here, whether or not that's terrorism. Terrorism is politically motivated violence against civilians, traditionally.
Right. But that's not a plane.
Correct, correct, which is why I personally would categorize it as vandalism, but that has not been made my decision.
But
by the UK government.
But the point being, as Zach Polanski pointed out, is if you've got 89-year-old people who are supporting this group being arrested for supporting a terrorist group, does that sit easily with you?
Well, I don't think it's up to me to decide. It's up to the police. And if that's what the government has determined as a terrorist group, then it is up to the police to enforce that law. Whether or not they should be designated as a terror group specifically, that's an entirely different issue. It doesn't matter whether the person is 89 years old or 19, as I said, or even if they pose an actual threat. It matters whether or not they're a member of a designated terror group.